Hello, and welcome to the HarperCollins Children's Books Fall 2026 preview. I'm Kelly Ferreira, Books for Youth Associate Editor at Booklist, and I use they, she, and he pronouns. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and the title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and will pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable them on your screen, please look for and click the Show Captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of them at any time by selecting Caption Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. We have a wonderful event today, featuring special guests and a fantastic book list, so without further ado, I'll pass the mic to Mimi Rankin, Associate Director of the Harper Stacks team. Take it away, Mimi.
All right. Hello, welcome to our HarperCollins Children's Books Fall 26 Librarian Preview. My name is Mimi Rankin, and I'm the Associate Director of School and Library Marketing at HarperCollins Children's Books. Thank you so much to Booklist for hosting us and connecting with so many wonderful librarians and educators across the country. A few notes before we start. We've set a spreadsheet of our presented titles around before this webinar. Please feel free to use this to take notes about the books you hear about today. You can also request to download these titles from both NetGalley and Edelweiss. The full picture PDFs are only on Edelweiss, but you can immediately access them by clicking the links on each entry. Speaking of Edelweiss, see all of the presented titles and many more in a seasonal catalog linked at the end of this presentation. We hope to see many of you in a few weeks at ALA Annual, where we'll be celebrating 100 years of HarperCollins children's books. It's been a wonderful century of wonderful books, but now let's look to what's up next for the next 100 years. So first up, we have an exciting change of pace in that you get to hear from Rosemary Brosnan, our Vice President and Publisher of two imprints at HarperCollins, Quilltree Books and Heartdrum. Rosemary is joined by Martha White, the granddaughter of beloved author E.B. White of Charlotte's Web, Stuart Little, and the Trumpet of the Swan fame. And you'll hear about an exciting new book, The Duck Can't Sleep, a poem by E.B. White, which was originally published in The New Yorker a century ago. And it is now accompanied by illustrations from Melissa Sweet. Please welcome Rosemary Brosnan and Martha White.
Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be here with Martha White, granddaughter of E.B. White, who, as you all know, wrote Charlotte's Web, Stuart Little, and many other cherished books. Martha had the wonderful idea of taking a poem her grandfather published in The New Yorker 100 years ago and making it into a children's book. As a poem, it was titled Natura in Herb, but as a picture book, it's called The Duck Can't Sleep, and it's been illustrated by the incomparable Melissa Sweet. Martha wrote the foreword, and I just got an advance copy, and it's such a little jewel. I hope you can see it. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. Martha, how well did you know your grandfather? Can you tell us a bit about him? I think you grew up right down the road from his farm in Maine.
Right, right. We grew up probably a couple of miles away. We could ride our bikes over there, my two brothers and I. I think he was about 50, 55, 56 when I was born, and I knew him for the first 30 years of my life. So I got to know him pretty well. He knew me as a young writer, and I knew him in his mid-career. By the time I knew him, he was in Maine full time. He wasn't in New York City except for occasional trips back and forth. Didn't keep an office there anymore, although he still went back and forth. But we mostly knew him as our grandfather. I mean, we were somewhat aware that he was in the office writing some of the time, but mostly we knew him in the barnyard and down on the shore. He lived on a saltwater farm on Blue Hill Bay, so we spent a lot of time with him outdoors rather than inside. People often ask me, did he read to you or did he tell you stories? And he wasn't that kind of grandfather. My grandmother was the one who was going to sit on the couch with us with books, but he was the one that wanted us to see the new chicks in the hen coop or the new lambs that were being born or visit the geese outside and things like that.
What a special childhood you had. And I think that makes sense, having read his work, that that's the
Yes.
kind of grandfather he would be.
Yes.
What's the origin of this book? How did you have the idea to do this? And I think you had Melissa Sweet in mind right from the beginning. I love her art so much. I bought 4 pieces for my baby granddaughter.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
no,
really
she's terrific.
something.
So Melissa Sweet used to be a neighbor of mine in Rockport, Maine, and I knew her. She had the idea of doing the children's biography of E.B. White, which was called Some Writer, and she had probably put in a year or more, maybe two, on that project before she even came to me and asked for permission as the executor of my grandfather's estate. Luckily, luckily it was so good, there was no way I was going to say no. And we had said no previously to other potential writers who wanted to do something like that. We never thought anybody would be able to do it properly. Melissa really did it beautifully. So yes, I had her in mind. I had seen the illustrations, of course, for Some Writer, and when I came across the duck poem that obviously made a nice children's book, I immediately thought of Melissa because not only did I love her artwork, but she had done other books of poems with a line or two per page to go with an illustration, and I just think they're beautifully done and perfect for children of that age.
She really was perfect for this, and I know she put her whole heart into it. She felt a tremendous sense of responsibility to do the book
She
justice.
did. She
Yeah,
she she went to New York City. She toured the reservoir. She walked round and round. She even had a tree expert and a bird expert to show her around and comment on what he was seeing on the reservoir. So she really put some research into it.
she did. I got to go up to her studio in September to watch her work on the art and visited with you. We had
Yeah,
known each other like this virtually for
right, for
years, but I
years.
finally got to meet you in person, which was such a
Right.
treat.
Yeah.
So you're the literary executor of your grandfather's estate, and I think librarians would be interested in knowing how you became the executor and what exactly you do.
Right. Yeah. So my grandfather died in 1985, and at that time both my parents were still alive. His son Joel was my father. And so Joel took it on initially, which really meant that my mother was the one doing it because she was the one in the office and he was running a boatyard. And after a period of years, my mother decided it was time to pass the reins to me. And I was a writer and editor anyway. I was in the office. I knew all of his books, of course. So I took it on from my mother, and I've done it for about 25 years. Actually, this year, my daughter Molly White is starting to become the new executor. She's going to take it on for me, and so this year we're doing it together, and she will continue the work, which is it's really a privilege. It's very fun, and interestingly, the books that my grandfather never thought were going to do particularly well and probably wouldn't sell at all have continued to sell very nicely in all the different forms now, ebooks and audiobooks and graphic novels and all sorts of things. So my guess is Molly will have her work cut out for her as well. But it's a labor of love, and he was very specific about the kinds of things he did and did not want to have happen with his legacy. He wasn't much into the stuffed animals, although there have been a few. He wasn't big into the theater arts and movie arts, although we've
Mhm.
done some of that too. With actually, with his permission, he did start it. So we've tried to honor his will as much as we can, and I think it's been a privilege for all of us.
Well, you've been very respectful and very careful, I have to say, working as the editor. I appreciate that. I really
Yeah.
do.
Well, his work has proved very timely in so many ways. I mean, so many of his essays and the children's books, of course, they just keep their moment in time. They're not dated the way some things seem to get. And he had a special art in being able to do that, I think.
He really did. Is there anything you would like readers to know or think about with The Duck Can't Sleep now that it'll be coming
Oh,
out
I
in
think it's going to be
September?
perfect for getting children to sleep. I think it's going to be perfect for people who struggle with insomnia. I think it's going to be a hit with anybody who knows the reservoir, but also just the ponds and lakes and ducks and the natural world. I think it's going to hit on many different fronts, and it will speak to a lot of people. It's
I
short and it's
agree.
funny. It's going to be an easy poem to memorize. I was saying to Rosemary earlier, I can imagine people walking around the reservoir and chanting the verses because it's so easy to memorize.
It
Yeah,
is,
it's a
it
fun one.
is. Martha, it's been great talking to you. Thanks so much for taking the time to
You're
talk
very
about The
welcome.
Duck Can't
Glad
Sleep.
to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And yeah, take a look at that beautiful art. I've been using Melissa's art for as many things as possible because it's so gorgeous. Thank you for joining us. My name is Christina Carpino. I'm an assistant manager on the team, and we can go to the next slide. And I'm going to talk to us about picture books. So I know we just got out of the cold winter up here in NYC, but in Igloo, a big storm is coming and Chickadee is all alone in the cold. That is until the other animals notice, and next thing you know, they're all cuddled together. Next slide. This is a heartwarming tale of friendship and kindness with a classic rhyming text, making it great for read-alouds. Next slide. The Red Scarf is Bob Holt's follow-up to the acclaimed The Red Jacket, and in it, Bob the Seagull's gifted a red scarf. It keeps him warm until it begins to unravel. Will Bob fall apart too? Another great friendship tale about sharing and what it means to be a true friend, told with humor that will keep kids coming back for multiple reads. And speaking of humor, you may recognize the author Abby Cushman from her funny nonfiction books, including Flamingos Are Pretty Funky. In her upcoming picture book, facts get thrown out the window in favor of a delightfully silly premise. Under absolutely no circumstances should penguins ever wear pants, because if they do, something really bad happens. I find something new to laugh about on every read, and the rhyming text is perfect for story time. And then we have Harlow the Highland Cow. Harlow's great at just about everything, singing, dancing, numbers, eating, but she can't moo. This is a humorous and sweet picture book with a fun twist that proves what you can do matters more than what you can't. Next slide. All right, so what's better than books? Pizza. And what's better than pizza? That's right, books about pizza. Leanne Cho is the award-winning creator of Pigtown Party, and this book is about three brothers who plan to make the biggest pizza in the world. Mayhem ensues, and the brothers must learn to work together and play fair. This book is hilarious and delicious and may leave you craving a pizza party. And in the Thieves Beneath the Floorboards, unless you're a monster, the food at Mikey Please's Cafe at the Edge of the Woods might not have seemed quite as delicious as pizza. But this third picture book in the series has some uninvited guests living under the floorboards. This title is great for silly story times, Halloween, and any reader who likes their books with just a little side of disgusting. And Medusa's Pet Rock. Poor Medusa's always been misunderstood by her classmates as the one monster in the room. Sure, she may have accidentally turned a couple of their class pets into stone, but she tries to be careful. Finally, the teacher finds a class pet that even Medusa can enjoy. This funny and heartfelt picture book puts a new spin on the misunderstood mythological creature and gives a great introduction to Greek mythology for young readers. Next slide. This is a beautiful debut. Wolf is a very lonely fox until he's surrounded by friends and just wants some peace and quiet. Next slide, please. This beautifully illustrated book is perfect for anyone who knows how it is to feel many emotions at once. And it's a great tool for discussing sensory overload. Next slide, please. Best-selling author Beth Ferry brings us a new character who never gets tired of racing around the track. But when he's fired and sent to the dump, he has to relearn who he is and adapt to a new situation. Sam's neighborhood is inspired by a true story. Sam loves her neighborhood, but she wants to make friends with her neighbors. And since she talks with her hands and her neighbors talk with their words, communication is a challenge. Until one by one, the neighbors begin learning ASL. Thoughtfully illustrated by deaf artist Ziyu Chen, Patricia McCormick's book is both inspirational and instructional. And then fall in schools and libraries often means lots of apple-themed activities and story times, so Mary E. and the Apple Tree is the perfect new yet timeless book to add to the rotation. The story follows Mary E. and her family's farm and shows how traditions surrounding food can travel through generations, connecting people. And there's a great recipe for apple dumplings in the back. Next slide. I fell in love with Amelia Bothy's art as soon as I saw her debut, Ellie Has a Secret, and Mia's Cheetah brings it to a new level. Mia is not looking forward to the long, boring drive to Grandma's house until her dad teaches her a secret game and everything changes. An ode to the power of imagination, this book is ready for repeat reads and hours spent poring over the pictures. And keep the imagination going in Don't Drop the Mic, a poetic and whimsical book about finding confidence and using the power of one's voice. What a big yawn. I dare you to read this book without yawning. In fact, I dare you to listen to me talk about it without yawning. One boy's yawn sparks a hilarious chain reaction that sweeps all across the city and loops around again just in time for bedtime. This is a perfect cozy read for families to make a part of their evening routine. And I'm trying very hard not to yawn right now. Next slide. From the creators of the palindrome graphic novel picture book Drawn Onward comes a uniquely formatted sequel of sorts, Drawn Inward. The text of the book is a pantoum, which is a unique poetry style many of you might be unfamiliar with. It features a young boy and his father helps him to navigate his larger-than-life feelings. Perfect for SEL, Poetry Month, and anyone who loves highly detailed illustration. And next up from New York Times bestseller Gideon Steerer, we have What is the Wind? An alliterative read aloud that's great for classroom use with tons of curricular ties, including weather, poetry, agriculture, and more. The text celebrates wind in its many forms from breezes to whistles. Next slide. Benjamin Alire Sands and Raoul III are an I can never say this word, inimitable pair. And with this title, they bring us a delightful tale of friendship, loyalty, and staying true to oneself. Next slide. I think we have an interior here. Yes. Grandma Fina loves her torn umbrella, but her friends are convinced that she needs a new one. But where others see a problem, Grandma Fina sees an opportunity. Next slide. And some more family stories. Here Come the Grandmas is a follow-up to last year's Here Come the Aunties from Cynthia Leidig Smith. There are all kinds of grandmothers that bring a special love with them wherever they go, and this book honors the blessings of every grandmother in a child's life. In A Tanta Wawa for Abuelito, Tortolito is celebrating his first Dia de los Muertos without his abuelito by his side. Even when participating in all of the traditions, he misses how close he was with his grandfather. Can he learn how to keep abuelo's spirit with him every day? And in Mommy's Heart, Lara and her mom have all sorts of traditions together. But what will happen when Mommy has a new boyfriend? Does she have space in her heart for Pedro and Lara? This is a heartwarming and playful picture book about how much love a heart can really hold, written by a Spanish language elementary school teacher. Next slide. Inspired by 8-time Grammy winner Ziggy Marley's hit song, True to Myself, this is a joyful and empowering book celebrating kindness and community. And I Am Wonderfully Me is the latest from Grace Byers, the actress, activist, and best-selling author of I Am Enough. Next slide, please. We have a whole bunch of holiday books, so I'm going to go through these kind of quickly. Craigie has a new Christmas book, and we also have a new series here, Santa in Disguise and Cupid in Disguise. Next slide. And we're also shaking up our celebrations. We Are the Light is from Newbery Honor author Rajani Laraka. It is about Diwali, the Hindu celebration of lights. The story highlights multiple contemporary families, showing how they celebrate, teaching readers about the rituals of the festival in a way that's accessible to all. Lost and Found at the Gurdwara, Darshan and his family are getting ready for a big Nagar Kirtan, a Sikh celebration that is a religious procession. But one thing after another is going missing, from Baba's keys to the cupcakes. Readers of all backgrounds will enjoy following along with this seek and find story of perseverance and joy. And A Snowy Hanukkah for Luz. Luz is helping her abuelitos get ready to celebrate the Festival of Lights in this contemporary intergenerational picture book that incorporates both Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jewish traditions. And have you ever heard of the Christmas tree pickle? Because I hadn't until I met my mother-in-law, but this is a funny picture book that explores a possible origin story for this mysterious tradition. And Santa is Stuck is an interactive picture book where readers will need to help Santa get unstuck by tickling, poking, spinning, and shaking. Next slide. We have a new Pete the Cat. He tries to make a cookie-o-matic so that he can make his Nana's cookies, but what happens when the cookies get out of control? And then we also have a lovely Valentine's Day book coming up too. Next slide. Of course, you all know and love Kevin Henkes. We just wanted to let you know that we have some new formats coming, including a paperback of Kitten's First Full Moon, as well as a Spanish edition of that, and Lily's Big Day. And then we have a board book version of, next slide. And the Big Cheese, El Queso Supremo, is now available in Spanish. Next. And we'll finish up with some I Can Reads. Hopefully you've heard about I Can Read Phonics. We have a new series of phonics readers that are created in conjunction with a phonics expert that really teach kids how to read from beginning to end using their favorite characters. So we have Pinkalicious and Biscuit joining the group. And then finally, we have Tiddly and Winks, Don't Be Scared. This is a first in a new series from best-selling creators R.L. Stine and Mark Brown. It's a great mix of silly and scary and perfect for emergent readers. And I know that was a lot, but hopefully you have a lot to add to your shelves. And I'm going to turn it back over to Mimi.
Thanks so much, Christina. It seems like every week we receive an email that Sally J. Plaw's books have been added to yet another new state award list. The award-winning author of books like Invisible Isabel and The Fire, the Water, and Maudie McGinn have been lauded for their thoughtful explorations of identity and neurodivergence. The Schneider Award winner is back with Rowan and Gemma, in which two neurodivergent tweens, one of whom is nonverbal and uses an AAC device, forge a friendship despite their feuding mothers battling each other for seats on the school board. As readers watch the two tweens learn to advocate for themselves and the things they care about, Rowan and Gemma is a perfect title for social emotional learning with the following core themes: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Please welcome Sally J. Plaw.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi, everybody. I am Sally J. Plaw. Thank you so much, Mimi, for that great introduction. I write books that include humor and empathy, compassion and joy, and acceptance and neurodiversity in my books. I like to write books. In fact, all of my books are very character driven. I want my young readers to come away from reading my books feeling like they've made a new friend that's going to stay with them, a friend that they can relate to. And I'm lucky enough to have written 4 books so far with HarperCollins, and the 5th, as Mimi mentioned, Rowan and Gemma, comes out September 29th. And it's been my privilege to work with the absolutely wonderful team at Quiltree Books with its mission to raise up underrepresented voices. I'm a late diagnosed autistic woman. I have raised 3 neurodivergent sons, and I write from this place of inclusion. When my sons were growing up, the only autism-related books were very pathologizing and othering. They were stories about my brother Johnny, who has strange behaviors, and that was about it. So my mission became to populate children's literature with as many natural stories, interesting, amazing adventures with main characters whose brains just may work a little bit differently, but perhaps you will recognize yourself in them. You can move on to the next slide. Thanks. Yeah, I've also appeared on television and radio and a lot of podcasts as an autism advocate. And I also run a novelmind.com, which is a resource to lift up positive representation in neurodiversity and mental health. And I am so excited to talk to you about Rowan and Gemma. Rowan is kind of slow on the uptake, as his family members and his teachers sometimes call him. He feels like maybe the only place for him in life, or his family thinks that the only place for him might be as a worker in his family restaurant. But he's so kind-hearted and generous and open, and he has an intuitive ability to understand people, even though he may mess up at school now and then. And as for Gemma, she's so brilliant, she shines so bright, but because she relies on text-to-speak assistive tech, text-to-speech software, AAC, because she's non-speaking, she has verbal apraxia, which happens to a percentage of autistic people and is not related to intelligence. She's often just talked over. And she's really anxious because her family has just moved to this tiny town called Friendship Prairie. And that's where Rowan's always lived. It's new to Gemma, though, and she thinks people might not be understanding her. So it's these issues of anxiety and neurodivergence that I really kind of want to get at in my books. I just feel like with kids' rates of anxiety and neurodivergence skyrocketing, it's not really an exaggeration to say that mental health and neurodiversity issues impact all children today. And I really want to write stories for them like Rowan and Gemma that show the drama and the humor in everyday challenges and that there are ways through. I talk to a lot of school kids all across the country, and whenever I ask if they know somebody who is neurodivergent in some way, every single hand goes up, every single hand. And when we talk about anxiety, and every kid has a story. So I really feel like these are such relatable issues in my stories for every kid. Let's see, you can go to the next slide. Thank you so much. I talked about this already a bit. You know what? I wanted to do what I thought would be okay, and I hope I have enough time. I just have a few paragraphs to give you a sense of who Rowan and Gemma is, because that's what matters so much to me. I was wondering if I could read you just a few paragraphs to give you a sense of it. I'm going to read you a paragraph from Rowan's voice. It's an alternating voice book, so you hear from Rowan and you hear from Gemma separately. Here's Rowan working in his family's restaurant. "Rowan!" Ty shouts, blasting through the swinging doors. "Move your butt! 6 fish dinners to table 5, stat!" What does stat even mean? I thought that was something they said on doctor shows. Okay, I mutter. I grab a giant metal tray and load it with 6 heavy plates of food from under the heat lamps. I remember to add the sprig of parsley and 2 lemon wedges to each plate. I usually forget, but I'm trying to do better. Uncle Lucky eyes me from the stove as I wobble, trying to balance the heavy tray on my shoulder. "Sure you got that, bud?" "Yeah, I think I do. Thanks, Uncle Luck." And I stagger into the dining room with the tray. Everything's fine for the first 2 steps, and I'm about to turn to the serving station when Ty's voice bursts from behind me, sharp as a kitchen knife. "On the left!" I quickly step left, but wait, did he mean go left, or he was coming on my left? Too late. Ty bumps my shoulder hard and my tray starts tilting. I try like crazy to get back under it, but the heavy plates are sliding back and forth and back and forth. "You can't drop this tray, Rowan!" I tell myself. "Don't drop this tray!" I'm gonna drop this tray. Somehow my hand manages to fling the tray up as I go down, so the fish dinners are raining all over the whole dining room in slow-mo. Giant globs of coleslaw and fish plop on the floor. Foil-wrapped baked potatoes explode like grenades. I hear a small cry of surprise. A girl in the takeout line just got beamed on the head by a potato. Then the whole dining room starts to clap. They whistle and call, "Way to go, Rowan! Nice one, Rowan!" And it's okay now, Rowan, don't you worry about it. That last one from the nice ladies at table 10 who play cards with Grandma at the community center on Thursdays. My cousin Ty looks about ready to murder me, though. He flicks at the food glob stuck to his best black work shirt. You moron! When are you going to learn your right from your left? Behind us, Grandma's card-playing friends say, Hush now, Tyler. You know your cousin has special needs. Whoa. Is that why they think I dropped the tray? Is that why I dropped the tray? And if I have time, I have a little bit of Gemma for you. Some of the many things I worry about include murder hornets, lightning strikes, public speaking, food poisoning, climate change, getting lost, mass shootings, black widow spiders, zombies, public transportation, mosquito-borne pathogens, roving vigilantes, wildfire, rattlesnakes, and having to answer my phone. But one thing that has never been on my catastrophe radar was getting hit on the head with a hot potato. To think I trusted Mother when she said it would be good people practice to go in and pick up our fish fry order. Just go stand in the takeout line, and when you're up, press play on your tablet, she said. Simple as pie. Simple as pie? Silly me, I went and stood in the takeout line. I clutched my tablet with sweaty hands, all ready to smile politely and say, order for Kaplan, and then the burning projectile struck me brutally out of nowhere. For a second, I thought I'd been shot. My knees gave out and I wobbled to the ground, and through the tangle of legs as I sank, I spied a gangly, dark-haired boy who was also sprawled on the floor, who looked as stunned as me. A server helped me up and asked if I was okay. I pushed play on the tablet, ordered for Kaplan over and over. At this point, I didn't care what anyone thought of my tablet voice, and they put a big bag of takeout in my hands. I didn't even pay for it. I just booked it. Back in the car, I tell this to Mother while she picks potato out of my hair. Gemma, this is awful. You have a burn mark on your forehead. Her face is stormy. She's using her old, booming, assertive courtroom voice, a voice I haven't heard in a long while. What kind of business are they running in there? Mother eyes the Monahan's pub sign as if it's a front for the mob. I hope you will be interested in Rowan and Gemma for your kids. Thank you so much.
Sally, thank you so much for that wonderful excerpt. Hi, everyone. My name is Elise Damasco, and I'm the marketing coordinator here to share some of our upcoming middle grade titles. So to start, we have some more books that are great for building social and emotional learning skills. And first, we have another great title from Kevin Hankes. Poppy is a heartfelt, sensitive standalone companion to the Year of Billy Miller. It stars Billy and Sal's youngest sister during Thanksgiving as she navigates grief and change during the holidays. It also features short, illustrated chapters. And then we have the continuation of Summer Dillon by Sarah Everett, who's the author of The Probability of Everything. It's another emotional read handling tough topics with a tender touch. Fans of The Wild Robot and The List of Things That Will Not Change will have their hearts broken and put back together by this novel about an android built to live out the life of a girl named Summer Dillon. In Odo and the Big Giant Sinkhole, 12-year-old Odo barely has time to process the loss of his mother before his father moves them to a new town. His grief, OCD, and panic disorder are overwhelming and start to feel like a giant sinkhole ready to swallow him up. This voice-driven novel will help readers find the courage to treasure the past while also pushing forward into the future. And then finally, we have a sequel. This is The Encantadora's Guide to Legend and Lies. In this immersive Portuguese-inspired fantasy, Rosa and her friends find themselves caught up in a new heist with a monstrous twist. Next slide, please. Okay, The Giver by Lois Lowry was my first introduction to dystopian fiction, and also the reason why my middle school librarian would get a visit from me every single week, where I would beg for another dystopian book that I have not already read. So, as you can imagine, I am thrilled that Lois Lowry is back with another dystopian world. Twins Tessa and Theo live in a world where citizens have long, comfortable, safe-seeming lives. So when Theo disappears, no one wants to discuss it. That is, until their 135-year-old neighbor secretly introduces Tessa to the power of books. Building 903 is a story about censorship, comfort, complicity, and the radical power of books to open portals and unlock our humanity through our most powerful tool, the imagination. Next slide, please. Okay, we know how difficult it can be to find high interest books for 7th and 8th graders, so we always love to highlight titles that are in that upper middle grade level. Earlier this year, Kyle Casey Chu's debut, The Queen Bees of Tybee County, received an Apollo honor, and we're so excited to share the upcoming companion novel, Juana Fonte Needs a Hero, in which an 8th grade basketball star must solve the mystery of his drag idol's disappearance, while also navigating first love and a looming future. And then next we have The Unusuals by best-selling Newbery Honor author Gail Carson Levine. In this compelling story of faith, grief, friendship, and bravery set in medieval England, three friends, two Jewish, one Christian, are faced with a series of murders of Jewish moneylenders in their town, including the deaths of their own family members. Next slide. And then on the other side of middle grade, we have our younger readers who are just starting to transition from picture books to chapter books and reading independently. So we have the third book in the No Sam series by Drew Daywalt, who is the author of The Day the Crayons Quit, in which it takes Sam to the wild streets of New York City for his most chaotic adventure yet. And then Princess Bulldog is another highly illustrated novel, and the first in a new trilogy, in which Princess Lola the Pupposaurus, aka a puppy with wings, balances being a good friend with the everyday challenges of running a pupdom. Next slide, please. We cannot wait for Meg Cabot's absolutely adorable and hilarious new middle grade graphic novel series, Detective Baby. Jenny isn't your average babysitter. She has a secret superpower where she can understand baby talk, which is a pretty lame superpower for a middle schooler if you ask her. And then Rosie isn't your average baby. She is the most brilliant and devious detective in town. So when the money Jenny raised for her dance team is stolen, Rosie is the perfect itty-bitty investigator to crack the case. Next slide. And then we have some more graphic novels here. We are now on our 10th book in Terry Levinson's Emmy and Friends series, told from alternating POVs of mean girl Celia and gossipy Grace. Seriously, Celia delivers a new dose of friendship drama. And then up next in the Besties series from Kayla Miller, Besties Trent and Sora's plans to crush Winter Carnival games are in peril when a crush of the heart threatens to undo their duo. And Hooves of Death Volume 2 is a pulse-pounding graphic novel that blends the fantastical with the apocalyptic, delivering a tale of unexpected heroes, epic battles, and the enduring spirit of survival. Next slide. We have some more graphic novels. Last year, Eisner Award-winning author Hope Larson gave us the wonderful graphic novel Very Bad at Math. And now Verity Very Nelson's story will continue in the humorous and heartfelt standalone graphic novel Very Far From Home, where she teams up with her cousin and frenemy to save a community pool. In Framed, a girl named Toby is wrongfully accused of throwing out other students' art projects. Can Toby get to the bottom of this mystery before the end of the school day, or will she find herself stuck in detention for the foreseeable future? And then finally, we have Mooney and Junie, which is the first book in a new, funny, fast-paced middle grade graphic novel series about two girls, one on a moon and one on Mars, who become pen pals. Next slide, please. Hey, Roseanne Perry is back with another compelling, timely novel about the wilderness. This time you'll get the opportunity to follow Westerly the Raven in A Raven of the Rainforest. Westerly fears that she won't be able to survive the prophecy she was born to fulfill until a once-in-a-lifetime volcanic eruption changes everything in this enthralling animal story about destiny, leadership, and bravery. Next slide, please. Okay, and then we're going to close out with two strong middle grade nonfiction titles. First, we have another book for our animal lovers here. In Oceanic Manta Adventure, Cybert medalist and National Book Award honoree Cy Montgomery dives below the surface to study giant manta rays in Ecuador. This book is beautifully illustrated with underwater photography and is a great tool for exploring STEM concepts. And then finally, we have La Bandera. From Pro del Prey honor-winning author Anika Aldemoyo Denise comes the riveting story of Puerto Rico, its flag, and its people, told in verse and accompanied by gorgeous full-color illustrations. It will also be available in Spanish. And then I will turn it back to Mimi to introduce our next speaker.
All right. Thanks so much, Elise. Elizabeth Acevedo's voice resonates worldwide as author, poet, and spoken word performer. Her debut novel, The Poet X, has been lauded as a new American classic, recipient of the National Book Award, Michael L. Prince Award, Pura Belpré Award, Walter Award, and Boston Globe Horn Book Award, a Best Book of the Year on over a dozen year-end lists, and a multi-week New York Times bestseller. Acevedo has gone on to write further best-selling and celebrated books for adults and teens, garnering more than 20 starred reviews, international editions, and coverage in Time, The Atlantic, and The New York Times. She's a National Poetry Slam champion and resides in Washington, D.C. with her family. In her first foray back into the YA space in 6 years, we meet Lil in Anger is Only a Shadow. As in The Poet X, this novel stars an Afro-Latina teenager with a big voice and a bigger heart. Lil's relatable teen voice and journey to self-empowerment, even when systems make her feel powerless, will win the hearts of readers everywhere. We are beyond thrilled to welcome Elizabeth Acevedo.
Hello, I am so excited to be here with you all. Thank you for inviting me. I love the previous two presentations. I think there was so much that this panel was put together really well. There's poetry in this book, so shout out to EB and his incredible poetry. And there's also what it means to have brains that work differently than other people. And so anger is only a shadow. This is the story of Liliana Lil Teku Pantaleon Ortiz. When we meet Lil, she's in the process of learning discernment with her choice in friends, how she uses her time, how she handles her emotions, and in her ability to distinguish right from wrong. One of the major things outside of her own impulsivity that challenges her ability to make good choices is that her beloved older brother, Aldwin, has begun showing signs of mental illness. And he only trusts Lil. This is not a storyline I thought I would ever write, but it is informed by my own history with one of my older brothers, who, when I was a senior in college, began showing signs of schizophrenia. I was at university in Washington, D.C., and my entire family was in New York City. Needless to say, I gave Megabus a lot of money that year as I trekked up to New York on an almost weekly basis. I cannot name the number of times I left a class early or had to take an exam late, because when asked to make the choice between supporting my family and succeeding in school, the only choice was to show up, even if that meant failing out. This is an impossible choice for a young person to make. And when the character of Lil, with a history of hot messery, right? My girl makes a lot of not great choices, feels that she is the only one that can manage her family's experience as they're becoming fractured, I knew that there was a book there, simply because almost 20 years after those early days of watching my brother struggle and my family figure out what it means to hold space for him and what he was enduring, there hasn't been a lot of progress in terms of how families with these diagnoses, or even in the early days before there's a diagnosis, can support a family member who is an adult, who is potentially not nearby, who has agency, and also may not always see from the outside that what is happening to them is a deterioration, right, of the kinds of life experiences they could be having. And so when I saw those same questions are still relevant and we still don't have a lot of answers, that's how I know there's a book, when I have more wonderings than I do solutions. And so I thought there must be young people right now who are undergoing this same kind of situation. And what would it mean to write a book that names these very difficult experiences and feelings that in many ways feel completely nameless? I don't think I mentioned that when the story begins, Lil is in a juvenile detention facility. And so for her, someone who is being released with an ankle monitor, this idea of showing up looks very different, because she is literally required to be in a particular radius. Can we go to the next slide? The story of those early days when someone is having mental illness is clearly a very personal experience. And bringing in restorative justice was something that found its way into the book in a very organic manner. This screenshot that you all see is from 2015. I was a creative writing teacher at the Adjudicated Youth Center here in Washington, D.C. It's a very transient community as young people are undergoing hearings. And so they're brought in, sometimes they're there for a week, sometimes they're there for months until they await hearing. And as a teaching instructor, you kind of have to meet young people where they're at. And on many days, a poem seemed like the last thing that any of these young people needed. And on some days, it seemed like the only thing that would provide some type of solace. And the opportunity for them to write their own poems was, I think, a little form of freedom. When you tell a young person, it doesn't matter if you curse, it doesn't matter what you say, I don't have to show this to anyone. You actually don't even have to show this to me. I think there's something that happens in a space where all of a sudden you have agency and an opportunity to put language, and there's no expectation outside of you telling whatever truth you need to tell in that moment. And I remember as an instructor, the only poem I had ever written to date prior to this book was this one. When the girl at the detention center asks you again, why we gotta write these damn poems anyway? Fold back the army knife of your tongue. This is not a place to create more bruises. Teaching creative writing is like convincing skin to graft itself after being wounded. You cannot teach and harm. They must be mutually exclusive. Remember, these are Black and brown girls in America. There is hurt here, inherited or otherwise, and trauma is a tapeworm growing in the gut until it gets so big you have to reach into your smile and pull it out from between your teeth. Remember, teaching is not an automatic pass to activism. Remember, you are not here to save lives. Remember, we are all just working on our own mosaic of aches. So when the girl at the detention center asks you again, but why we gotta write these damn poems anyway? Remind her, we write to remember we are still here and that we can still heal. And in many ways, I think that anger is only a shadow. The thesis is that last line, right? We write to remember we are here and we write to remember we can still heal. One of the big through lines of this book is the way that Bell Hooks and Toni Morrison and Roque Dalton and these writers that Lil, who did not consider herself a reader, finds, right? Like they arrive in the poetry workshop, they arrive through the receptionist at school that sees her curious about a book, they arrive through a little free library, and she's finding and building her own canon of literature that gives her what she needs to name what she cannot find language for, right? And one of those quotes is Bell Hooks is, rarely, if ever, is anyone healed in isolation. Healing is an act of communion. And I think that the fact that 10 years ago, I wrote that poem I just read, and then I found this quote as I was writing this book, that there was something here about the many different ways that characters in this book need to heal and how the through line is we need each other and our wounds need a witness. If we could go to the next slide, I think I have a little bit of time to read an excerpt from the novel. One of the things that was a fun discovery, I don't really plot, y'all. I promise by the time that the book is published, there is often a plot, mostly because Rosemary Brosnan is my editor and she's going to make sure that things happen. But when I'm first writing, I don't outline. I'm not someone who is figuring it all out. There are a lot of joyous discoveries. There's a lot of delight that happens. And something in this book that I realized in one of the early drafts is that Lil's brother, Aldwin, is a big history aficionado. He is actually studying history at Virginia Commonwealth University, specifically Latin American history. So Lil has almost through osmosis learned so many different legends and folk tales and myths from El Salvador and the Dominican Republic, because that's where her family is from. And Aldwin loves those stories. And so he's always bringing those stories to her. So in addition to the library that she's finding all these books, there's also this oral history that she has access to, and that we see her weave in and out the myths in moment where it's applicable. She's kind of like drawing from him, like he would say this, or he would remind me of that, or here's a story that I think, might fit here. And this poem is Lil kind of thinking of herself and what it means to be in like with someone, and also, just like her sharpness, that she's not an easy person to deal with, and she knows she's sharp, and she knows like you got to watch out when you deal with me. And so this is one of the myths that you find in the novel that Lil repurposes to explain herself. Mythical figure I would tell Jonas about if it mattered. Every Dominican knows the Ciguapa, this legendary woman with hair pouring down her back like 10,000 strands of midnight. Her body, darkness too, naked when she was born, naked when she died. The boys and men would catch a glimpse and limp with heavy boots into the thick trees to find her. Everyone knows the Ciguapa had a mouth full of tiger shark teeth. Her jaw hinged like my bedroom door, hung low, hung low. Everyone knows the Ciguapa's feet. They are her most memorable feature. These feet with toes faced backward, unfollowable. She was a beast. She was a monster. Or she was just a girl they should have known not to manhunt into the red mangroves. Just a girl formed in the wildwood who should only be chased after if you wished to be devoured. I appreciate you all so much for letting me talk to you about Anger is Only a Shadow. This is a novel about family, about community, about mental health, about restorative justice, what it means to establish a personal reading canon that bolsters you with language in situations that leave you speechless with grief. And it is about healing. And I offer it as a balm for all our young people who, especially in this moment in time, are needing all the language that affirms them. Thank you all so much.
Elizabeth, I think we are all absolutely speechless. Thank you so much for sharing. That was absolutely stunning. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to tell you about some more amazing YA and teen books we have on this list. First up, I hope everyone is sitting down as I tell you about The Sixth Faction by Veronica Roth. So one choice will change everything. The worldwide sensation is back as you've never seen it before. In The Sixth Faction, step into a bold new Divergent series from the #1 New York Times bestselling author Veronica Roth, asking the question, what would happen if Tris made a different choice? If you're attending ALA, you just might be able to get your hands on an advanced reader's copy, so please swing by and say hello. Next slide, please. All right, so we've got some really great dystopian novels. First, Ava Reid, the genius behind the best-selling sensations A Study in Drowning, A Theory in Dreaming, and Fable for the End of the World, has written another lush, romantic, high-stakes adventure in a brand new world. In an alternate future where the Cold War still rages, 4 precocious teenage criminals with dark skills and darker secrets are offered a fresh start at a secret military academy. But instead of training to end the war, they find themselves on a mysterious mission that will test loyalties, forge romances, and maybe end the world as they know it. And then to our untamed core, The Hunger Games meets the Sunbearer Trials in best-selling and award-winning author Sonito Reyes's YA dystopia about a boy who survives by hiding his truth until his boyfriend is sentenced to El Torneo, a brutal fight-to-the-death game where he must risk everything to save him. Next slide, please. All right, we have some more romantasy sequels. So first, Escape Me is the third book in the new Shatter Me series, set 10 years after the fall of the Reestablishment by Tahira Mahi. We also have a deluxe edition, so for all your Tahira fans, make sure this is on your list. We also have the Sharpest Court, which is the sequel to Thorn Season. And this is Shadow and Bone meets The Selection in this second book in the sharp, sexy, and twisty #1 New York Times bestselling romantasy trilogy about a girl in possession of an illegal magic who joins her kingdom's harsh and glittering royal court only to find herself caught in a web of hidden intentions. And then A Masterpiece in Blood. This is perfect for fans of A Discovery of Witches and Serpent and Dove. And this is the sequel to the sizzling dark romantasy, The Temptation of Magic. And it follows fated mates Nicole and Kyan as they attempt to root out the secrets at the heart of a shadowy supernatural organization. Next slide, please. All right, we have from the best-selling author of Flowerheart, Catherine Bakewell, comes a cozy, romantic, and enchanting reimagining of The Snow Queen. We have another reimagining. This is a epic romantasy reimagining of Robin Hood, set in the same world and timeline as The Enemy's Daughter. Next slide, please. All right, Adam Mine. So this is from acclaimed author Kay Ankrum, who wrote the National Book Award long list, The Corruption of Hollis Brown, as well as Lambda Literary Award-winning Icarus. And this is a queer romantic horror thriller that is a love letter to Frankenstein about the consequences of our decisions, the legacy of family, and the depths we'll go to be forgiven. And next slide, please. All right, so here we've got some great horror. This is What Rough Beast, and this is Mindy McGinnis's first foray into horror. It's her gritty, propulsive writing combines perfectly with a spine-tingling, stomach-twisting plot about a girl who is finally able to get everything she needs at a price. While she's writing in a different genre, Mindy definitely explores the themes of sexism, internalized misogyny, and small-town power dynamics that she has been known to tackle in her contemporary work as well. And then we have The Girl in Green. This is a gripping, terrifying new horror novel from the Deep Well author Laura Creedle. At the storied Danvers Cutteridge School, students whisper of mysterious disappearances and a legendary evil under the mountain. Next slide, please. All right, we have Like Glass. In this thoughtful, compelling novel, a young Matisse artist untangles the story of her sister's life and death far from home in the French Alps. A study in sisterhood, grief, and family by Morris finalist and Stonewall Honor book author Jen Ferguson. Next slide, please. All right, we've got some really fun light romances. First, we have A Season for Falling. This is a swoony, heartfelt, and evocative standalone paperback original romance about first love, second chances, and finding yourself in the season of change. If you are a Gilmore Girls fan, this is very Stars Hollow coded. This is actually the YA debut from Newbery Honor author Kate O'Shaughnessy, so we're excited to welcome her into the YA space. And then we have Formula, He's the One. This captures the red-hot Formula One romance trend and makes it teen. The spice is low, the stakes are high, and this one is sure to race to the top of everyone's TBR. And then Santa Maybe. The Holiday Girls paperback original series is back, bringing Ellen Hildebrand meets Hallmark Channel sweetness to a Christmas festival that needs saving, swoon-worthy boys in sweaters, and the best New Year's Eve celebration ever. Next slide, please. All right, we've got some mysteries. So return to the world of Truly Devious as Stevie Bell and her friends travel to New York to solve a murder in the next standalone mystery, The Velvet Knife, from New York Times bestselling author Maureen Johnson. And then speaking of Truly Devious, this romp of a country house mystery is for fans of Truly Devious and Knives Out in New Year's Grieve, when JoJo's granddad is found dead at the family gathering to celebrate his 90th birthday. JoJo is determined to uncover which of her horrible relatives is responsible and to avoid her maddening ex-boyfriend who had crashed the party. Next slide, please. All right, we've got some great graphic novels. From the author of Crumbs comes a heartfelt, funny, and unmissable graphic novel about fandom, friendship, and the adventure of chasing what matters most, perfect for fans of The Girl from the Sea and Pumpkinheads. And then Second Generation Blues. This is Almost American Girl meets Brownstone. And this is a poignant coming-of-age young adult graphic novel about a Cuban-American teen as he struggles to choose between being the son his parents need him to be and living the life he wants. And this is from the Eisner-nominated author Julio Anta. And next slide. All right, got some other really great books. First up, Foreigners by E.L. Shen. Following one family across generations, foreigners ask big questions about inheritance and sacrifice and the great lengths we'll go to secure a stable life for our children and grandchildren. This is perfect for readers who devoured All My Rage by Saba Tahir and Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe, with crossover adult peel for fans of Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. And then The Ending You Deserve. This is Do Revenge meets Where Sleeping Girls Lie in this dark academia stripped bare novel about a student who uncovers a predator operating in plain sight at her prestigious new private arts high school. And then Where We Go at Night for any Fae fans. To name a thing is to see it, and no one can see the folk if they don't want to be seen. Trixie Gerwin's hometown of Woods Crossing is mind-numbingly dull, but she knows that a beguiling world of fae and magic lurks in the shadows. And then The Queen's Command. This is The Inheritance Game meets Bridgerton in the riveting companion novel to The Queen's Spade. And then finally on this slide, we have The Queen's... Oh, that was the last one. And now this last slide. To close out, something for readers of all ages who love children's books. Over 25 years of his life, Maurice Sendak regularly published essays and reviews devoted to an astonishing variety of writers and illustrators whose work he admired. Back in print with a new introduction by Sergio Rousier, Maurice Sendak's Caldecott & Co. is an eminent collection of essays, interviews, and speeches that's proven to be as timeless as the beloved author and illustrator himself. And that's all of the teen, but thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, there's an Edelweiss collection to review all of the titles you heard about today and a few more. Like we said earlier, the e-galleys are available on both NetGalley and Edelweiss. If you have any questions, my information is on the screen there. We hope to see many of you at ALA. Please follow us on Harper Stacks on Twitter and Facebook, and I'll hand it back over to Booklist. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Mimi, and a huge, huge thank you to all of today's wonderful panelists. I'm so excited to see these great books coming out. So tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's video recording, slide presentation, title list, and a certificate of completion. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit www.booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones, like those you see here. You can also find out about the latest webinars on our social channels. 150 years of empowering library professionals, advancing access to knowledge, and protecting the freedom to read. Since 1876, the American Library Association has embodied America's aspiration for knowledge and democracy, championing the professionals who make that promise real every day. Scan the QR code on the screen or visit ala150.org to see how you can join us in helping to shape the next 150 years of libraries. Thank you again for joining us for today's webinar. A huge thank you to our special guests, Rosemary, Martha, Sally, and Elizabeth, and to our presenters and sponsor, the Harper Stacks team. This concludes today's webinar. We'll see you next time.